Hi there, folks, and welcome to another episode of Michael's Backyard Marina. I'm your host, Michael. Yep. We're back on the 20-horse Mercury, 1975. 1975 Mercury Thermostat. Where is it? Now, I did some Googling, and I did some YouTube searching. I'm going to type in 1975 Mercury Thermostat, or, you know, there are no videos that I could find that showed where the thermostat is on this, and I'm okay with that. But that I didn't expect to help me out a whole lot, possibly. Possibly yes, possibly no. Well, what I did expect to help me out is I went on to CrowleyMarine.com, MarineEngine.com, and looking at the exploded views of this stuff, and it's like, where's the thermostat housing? Does it have one? This has got me kind of puzzled. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this cover back off, this cover off, and I was going to pull this off anyway because I do have some new stainless nylock nuts to put on here. Plus we're going to see what was making the little ring ding ding, you know, not the two-stroke ring ding ding, but that metal like chirp that was going on when I revved it up. But we got to find out, because like this thing is ready to rock and roll and go, right? But it can't run hot. I got my thermostat, my infrared laser beamer stat thermal checker, and she got up to about 180, 190 degrees. And this thing should run, I'm guessing, like most outboards and stuff, about 145 to 160, depending on the thermostat in it. It should have never got that hot, you know, next to the spark plug. So it should be cooling her down, and it wasn't. Also, I want to be able to run it in my tank and just, you know, put some time on it in the tank and just rev it up and just make sure it's going to do things. I find the test tank, because you can put things on a muff and run it, and it'll ring ding ding and do everything you want it to do, and it's like, feels like it's doing pretty good. And then you put a load on it. And when you put a load on it out in the lake, all of a sudden it falls on its face, or bogs down, or something's not quite right. So I find I give myself, you know, a 75% better chance or higher if I run it in the test tank before I take it to the lake and put it on a boat. In other news, you know, I sold my old 1969 Sea Nymph. You guys probably, if you watch to the end of the video, you've probably seen me and my son and in the boat going along with different outboards on it, testing them out. That was my test boat. I sold it it was kind of a nice little match set. I almost hated to part with it, but you know, you can't just hang on to everything forever. There's a few things that I won't let go. But this one, I'm like, it's time. Gentleman bought it and was going to take his grandkids out fishing in it. But it was a 1969 Sea Nymph with a 1969 20-horse Johnson on it, which was pretty darn cool. You know, so it'd be like, that would be something that could have been a combo back in 1969, you know, bought together, people going fishing in it. But so it's kind of neat to, you know, have some period correct stuff kind of put together. But let's get this off and get this, let's see if we can find it. If we can find it, I can at least remove it and put it back together without the thermostat to see if that's the problem or if there's blockage somewhere else we need to address. Like I said, on the pee hole down here, I could feel the air puffing. So that meant there's air puffing, but if the thermostat ain't opening, there's like, some of these have a bypass that the things can bypass until the thermostat opens and then they fill with water and go. I don't know. We're going to learn together. Plus, in this video, if I get that figured out, we're going to run it in the test tank. And I've got my new little 230 CFM inline vent fan, 4-inch vent fan that I'm going to put on there, and we'll see if that works. And we'll be able to rev this thing up and splash a whole bunch of water up in my test tank, and it won't have so much vacuum that it pulls the water up and all around and down through the system. So we're going to do that. The other cool thing is, I've also got a baffle. When I did this test tank, I put a baffle there so when the water goes up and hits it, the water would have to go up and around to get up in that hose. So I just think we had way too much vacuum with that, bounce house inflatable type fan on there that you saw me rebuild in the last video. If you followed the unboxing and the review, so to speak, on the DeWalt 12-gallon shop vac, I'll tell you what, I fire it up every time. I'm just like, it's weird just not to have. I've had a noisy shop vac for 37 years. This thing is quieter than my house vacuum cleaner. It's just quieter than everything. I mean, 68 decibels? Come on. It just doesn't make sense, but let's get into this. Oh, and we're gonna go take a quick look. Some of you asked about the gearbox on the old Evinrude 20 horse that was just completely shot. The gears were shot. You're asking, hey, we didn't get a chance to see that pinion gear. Well, the interesting thing, I'm gonna show you a couple things that I found interesting and what could have led to the failure of it. And, you know, we'll talk about that in a second. Let's get some things rearranged here and we'll talk some more. All right, some of you ask about the pinion gear on this old 20 horse Johnson. Look at that thing. That is chewed up. I'm gonna bring you in close. Take a look at that. Now I'm gonna speak a little bit out of school here, so to speak, because, you know, I had all these little bearings here. And when this came out, this was like this. And I'm pretty sure these are hardened washers, and I'm pretty sure there was supposed to be a thrust bearing housed in between here. And part of me says that something about this little thrust bearing here blew up and went throughout all this, and it just created a chewed up mess. Let me know your thoughts. Now, I had some people tell me that, oh, the skeg got hit, which hit something, which screwed up something. That's all very likely. The extreme pressure on the prop and this gear could have sheared teeth, could have caused end play, could have caused this thing to fall down. It could have been a number of things. One thing's for sure, she's toast. Now this bearing here, it's got a lot of stuff in it from all this that sits back on the end of the shaft back in here this way. It actually doesn't have a lot of marks on it. Now, I can feel some stuff in it. I mean, you wouldn't put it back in, let's put it that way. But this is a good old original equipment, you know, Timken bearing, made in USA. But what we're gonna do now is, I'll take these housing pieces and the drive shaft and maybe this shift dog that doesn't look like it's hard, you know, it's got some marks on it, but it would probably work. And the shifter fork pieces, you know, some of the stuff, let go of my ego. Some of this stuff here, you know, I'll stick these all in a baggie and mark them for future, you know, possible needs. It's got a drive shaft that's in great shape. No issues with the drive shaft. All right, so that's the catch up on the old 20 horse. Yeah, the housing is, I'm guessing, you know, with all the rattling around, I mean, I'll stick it out in the bone pile, but I don't think it's going to be much use. It's rough on the outside. It's obviously been rough on the inside, but it might lay around here for parts. But that's not what you came here for. Let's look at this 20 horse Merc. Let's get after that. I'm going to clean this up off camera so we have a space to set some tools, and we'll go from there. All right, let me describe what you're looking at here. Is this conglomeration is the new Smoke Sucker 8000. It's just like I said, a 230 CFM, 233 PA, you know, 2600 revolutions per minute fan, 32 watt, 5 amp, you know. It's called the model number HEE-100S. Well, so what I got going on here, so now my tank test tank looks turbocharged. But what I've got here is this hose comes up out of the tank at a severe upwards angle. So any moisture that might come up in here can drip back down and run back into the tank. But then it comes around and down and through here, and then up and then outside. Now we're gonna plug it in. Now the other one was quite loud, and it's moved a lot of air. We're up to full RPMs here. The thing is, when you put your hands here, you can feel the air coming past your hands. Because this is the only hole in the tank besides where that one's pulling from. So that's pulling a decent amount of air. So I think I can feel it coming past my face. Yep. Hello. So I have a feeling this is going to do a really good effective job of pulling the smoke through without pulling the water up into it and causing me a whole lot of problem like it did on the other one. So I'm very satisfied with this solution so far. But what I've done to show you guys in the past how this thing works is I've taken the, start the old outboard up, and then you can see the smoke rising up out of here. Then I plug it in and it goes whoo, like a ghost disappearing. The other thing I also like about that thing being as quiet as it is we'll be able to hear more. Before, I didn't have it running at all. Obviously you could hear everything, but you're going to die after a little while from the exhaust fumes. But the nice thing about it is I'll be able to hear the more noise of the engine and less whirring of that. So, helps you just, it just helps you, okay? Let's dig into this guy. I got to get this water pump thing figured, or not water pump, the thermostat thing figured out. It could be a water pump issue, but I just don't think it is. There's the bolts under here that we can take this cover off, and that's what we're going to do next. It looks like about a ½ inch. And what I may do too is start this thing up with my drill in the tank without this on it to see if that noise is still there. That way I know I can narrow it down to coming from here. Because it sounded like it was in the top. And somebody left a suggestion that they had, when they got up in the RPMs, that they had it where the same kind of noise when it was part of the mechanism kind of making contact with the flywheel. That may very well be the case. What am I just putting the bolts there for? Man, I got all these over here on the cabinet. Even though some of this stuff isn't magnetic, at least it keeps it contained. And the bowl is magnetic to the table, so it's really hard just to knock the bowl off, right? Where's the back one? Right here we go. Well, I pulled the lid off of this thing. We took a look around. We didn't. I did. Didn't waste you guys' time with it. Looked around, and it's like, it just appears that there's no place for a thermostat. But that'd almost be why I can't find one on the parts thing. So then I started thinking, let's chase the system and let's see. Now, if you guys remember a few videos back, maybe 10 or 11 or so, we took another 20 horse apart, and it was the 20 horse that I got the gearbox off of with the good drive shaft and stuck it in here. I'm going to show you some stuff that I think is going on, possibly, and we're going to have to pull that gearbox back off, and I'm going to do some investigation up through some things, because I may have pluggage or blockage. I think I do. But let me show you how this thing circulates. Now right here, what you're seeing is the platform in which the power head would sit down onto. And this would be the hole that goes down to the water line that runs down the length of this joker here. Well, it looks like it goes here, and then it can go around through this area right here, right? And that's it. Now there's some other kind of little hole or something here. Not sure what that does. This area, it's got a hole, but it's completely blocked off between this and the other part. So we're going to follow this, comes in here, right? This is where it goes. Let's go to the power head. Okay, now on the power head, that hole we saw coming from where it mounts, the power head mounts onto the base, it comes up right here. And then it goes whoop around here. And there's a little pinhole right here. And that little pinhole, I don't know where it goes, but it goes somewhere. But then there's a bigger hole here, which is almost similar to the size of the one that the copper tube feeds here. So now the water's coming here, around here, and up. Now I'm flipping that upright for a reason, because it comes up through here, and I'm going to pull, this is the head cover, I'm going to pull that back off here. I'll show you this part. So as you can see, this is all one big happy, hollow, open water chamber. So the water's coming up from that bottom right there, in here, comes up in here and plays around, but then flows right over through here. Here we go, we're still coming up, we're up in here, and then there's another, there's more water chamber. Let me get this box out of the way. So it's coming up and around and through, and then it's also, where else could it be coming through at here? Oh yeah, there's some holes back in here. Right back in here, there's some holes in there that this chamber's filling up. Yeah, filling up, coming, sorry about the noise. Coming up, coming down through here, and then that hole comes right out right here. So it's coming up through here, goes around, circulates, and comes back out here. And then that must made up, it mates up with the other part down there. But the pee hole is right here. So that's where that mounts right there, and there's the hose for it right there. So that's where it's having the water should be coming up through this chamber here and filling this chamber up. Once this chamber is full and flowing, it comes out the pee hole. But for some reason, the chamber is not filling up. Let's go back over to the other piece. Now, that other hole where it comes back down, after it goes up through the head, comes back down, comes right into here. So I'm going to take and blow air. These are the mounting holes here. I'm going to take air and blow it right through here where it comes back down. And so that comes back down and just blends in with the exhaust chamber to keep that all cold. And this whole big exhaust chamber goes on down through and just goes down toward the gearbox and gets funneled back in to come out the prop hole. Now all you experts out there that work on Mercury's probably are going, yeah, you fool, there is no thermostat on that particular one. It's engineered flow that allows a certain amount of water to keep coming in to keep things rejuvenated and warmed up but not too warm type situation. So I have a feeling what I've got a problem with is there's the pee hole for one on top here plugged up on this one. So I can pull that off since it's right on top. I can pull that off or blow back through it and possibly see something without tearing too much apart. The other thing is I could have a plug coming up through the copper pipe. The copper pipe be good, but where it mates up to the motor or the power head could be some blockage there. So I think it's going to behoove me to pull the gearbox off, because it's not that hard to do, and then take the copper tube that's up in there and blow air through that and see if I can feel it coming out the pee hole. If there's air coming out the pee hole, then that tells me that air is actually going up through the chamber. Air can get up through the water pump up to the chamber and up and cycle out. The other thing I'm going to do before I blow air and everything, I'm going to pull the water pump housing back off and just kind of give that another look-see to see if there's anything obvious. Did the key shear? Did something fail in that respect? Did a water pump impeller, the brass piece split? And is the shaft just spinning and I'm not getting anything? But I felt air. But could that have been air from, I don't know what that could have been from. We're going to find out together. So the next thing we're going to do is get this tipped up, pull the gearbox out, and start looking things over. I'm actually really happy that I had this old 20 horse that I stripped down, that I went through every piece and it's like, yep, there's no thermostat. There's no place for it. There's nothing about it. That's why it's not offered on any of the websites as a thermostat for these particular jokers in 1975, right? Or there might be a range of years in there. All I know is what I got in my hands, and that's what I can, let you know definitively that there is no thermostat on these outboards. I am convinced now that it is engineered with certain size holes, certain size pumps, certain size amount of flow happens, and that's what controls the temperature on these things. So, all right, and ultimately, if there's some blockage that happens over time, you know, it could probably come out the pee hole, but if it ain't coming out, it could overheat. And ultimately, that's what can kill these. I have no idea what happened to this other one that we're looking at here, but it was definitely messed up. All right, to the gearbox. Next stop. Let's find where it's plugged. All right, we're diving back in one more time. We're gonna back off this 9/16 nut here. And remember, we put this in forward gear, and quite frankly, forward, neutral, reverse, for the most part wouldn't matter, except we put it in forward gear because in this case the shaft that shifts rotates, and you want to have it in gear for the simple reason when you go to put it back together, when you can rotate this to line up the drive shaft into the power head. Otherwise it really wouldn't matter. So we're going ahead, we're in forward gear. We got this nut backed off. We got this one screw out of here that holds a plate on the bottom. And so we're going to get the, not one, but two bolts out on this end. The one up in here is a 9/16. No, it's 1/2 inch, I'm sorry. This one up here is a 1/2 inch socket. Takes this off. There's another one right here. Once the nuts are backed off, we should be able to slide it down and get this last nut off here, and we'll have this right in our hands in no time flat. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and pull this back off in order to see if the impeller and everything is okie dokie. Well, it all looks healthy. Nothing looks weird. What's going on here? You might have been asking yourself, Michael, what are you making? What was all that about? Well, I made this little adapter for that fit on my 1/2 inch cordless drill. I've got 3 drilled and tapped 1/4 holes in it, and this hole fits the end of the spline shaft on the drive shaft on this 20 horse outboard. I thought before I stick it all back in again, I would be able to put this on the end of the drive shaft, put it in my test tank, spin it, and see if it pumps any water. That way I know if it is pumping water, there's got to be something else weird going on, but I have blown air through every orifice on this thing, and air passes through it, no problem. So I don't know what's going on unless the water pump, when I took it back apart on the gearbox, it looked fine. The key's not sheared, the brass piece isn't split, it pumps water. It should pump water. So we're going to take this over here, put it on the end of my drive shaft, put it on my cordless drill, and stick it in the test tank and see if we can get water to come up that copper tube. Let's do that. Alrighty, I've got a pair of needle nose pliers there to keep the tube away from my coupler, but I'm going to sink this down in so it's down just below the water pump itself. Now at low speed, I'm not getting anything. There it goes. It takes a bit for it to get primed. Once he's primed, at lower RPM, that's probably about 1,000 right there. That'd probably be around idle speed, I'm guessing. This here, I've checked it, is about 4,000 RPM. When you're running wide open on your outboard, it's, you know, you're probably running 4,000 to 5,000. Well, that seems to work. All right, folks, I apologize if you hear the old windmill in the background, windmilling along. But it's windy and it's very cold out right now. It's maybe not as cold as it is in some areas of the world, but it come on. Definitely windy if the windmill's cutting. All right, we got the gearbox back on. I didn't waste your time showing you that again. I do possibly know what mistake I may have made. But let's see if this thing pumps water first, and then I'll fill you in on that possible mistake. Come on. Well, she's pumping water. And I think I know what I did wrong, possibly. Now this thing takes a while to prime and pump and get up and going. And I'm pretty sure I had it running long enough before it, and I got a lot more temperature up in this head before. I couldn't put my hand on it. It got hot enough that it was uncomfortable. Now I can actually, it's been running in my hand. I can set my hand right on that head. Doesn't get hot at all. It's warm, about 150 degrees. But I think when I put that tube, when you're trying to slide that gearbox in there, I might have dropped down a little bit and that tube fell out. And then I didn't get it centered up and get it back in. But now she's doing good, pumping water, doing everything it should. But I still got this high-pitched rattle sound up here, and I can't figure out what that is. So we're going to have to pull that cover off. I'm going to do it right here in the tank because I'm probably going to start it with the whole starter mechanism off. Maybe see if I can start it with a drill or something and see if it makes that noise just to see what it is. Now, some people told me it might be something up here in the recoil part that's just making a... But if I run it without that on it, I can narrow it down to this, right? Somewhere under the flywheel. The inside of the engine's perfectly quiet. It's got to be under here. We're just going to have to go ahead and yank this flywheel off, I'm afraid. See what's going on. Well, folks, we're going to have to do some more investigation on this thing because I'm just kind of wondering, is this flywheel got a crack in it that's making that sound? You guys, don't be afraid to leave comments down below. We solved the mystery of the water pump. The pumping fluids, or pumping, you know, cooling stuff up in there. Well, it's obviously, I made a mistake, I believe, by not getting that hose in there. But we also learned that these don't have a thermostat. If there is, somebody tell me where it's at because there's not one you can buy for it. And looking through that other 20 horse that we tore apart, there's no signs of where one could be. So interesting, this is what I'd call an engineered flow in order to maintain the cooling. But there's definitely something under here that's making a crackety-crack sound. And it almost gives me an indication, it really does, that something's cracked. And I'm almost thinking that this flywheel has a hairline crack making that noise. I do believe I have another 20 horse flywheel. And I'm going to stick that on here and see if that one quiets it down. But I might make that just a beginning or some like little part, if that's all it is, some little part in a couple coming videos, so stay tuned, keep watching. I appreciate your viewership. I've said it many times. I've got the best viewers on YouTube. I swear I do. You guys are the nicest folks. You leave the nicest comments and all that fun stuff. So please continue to watch, continue to share and like, and we'll just keep doing this type of thing together. I'm trying to depending on what I've got coming up next, what I've got for parts. Parts is really dictating what I get to work on next, honestly. I do have carb kits here for the big 50 horse. I don't want to take those carbs apart until I get the gearbox done. I do believe all my parts came in this week that I can put the gearbox back together, get that back on the 50 horse, and then put that back down, and before I take something else apart. We're really close. We do the carbs on that. There's no reason I can't fire it up. And the only thing that'll hold me up from firing it up is it won't fit in my test tank. It is below freezing outside right now. I really don't want to be out there in the freezing trying to run the muffs on it. But the first warm day I get, we'll wheel her out the front door here, put the muffs on it, and fire it up and see what it does. See if I got it running good, and then we'll get to painting on that thing and get the paint work done. That's about all I got left to do to that one. There's not a lot wrong with it, but there's just a few things that needed some attention. We've got several other projects around here. You guys saw the Chrysler motor I picked up that came with the John boat. We also got the 1990 Johnson 25 horse. And we also have the gearbox that we found destroyed. If that 25 horse is no good, I'm pretty sure that gearbox will fit on the other 20 horse Johnson. So that could be a win-win somewhere down the line there as well. So stay tuned, enjoy the footage at the end, and I'll catch you on the next video. This is Michael saying, if it ain't broke, fix it till it is. We'll see you later.